Welcome once again to another episode of the Love Approach Project podcast. This is your host, Laura Gutierrez. So, today we're going to be talking to Verónica Sánchez, and Verónica is a certified instructor of the Cyclopea method of internal activation of the pineal gland. I know it's a long name, but today we're going to focus on how by activating internally our pineal gland, we can improve our lives and we can not only release the stress and bring harmony back, but feel very connected. And this is why I have invited Verónica here today. So, welcome, Verónica.
Thank you, Laura, for having me here. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. I'm so excited. So,
Yeah, I'm excited too.
Vero, I would like to begin with a little bit of how you got into all of this. What got you into learning about this method and how it has transformed your life.
Okay, it's interesting because it was, we could say by accident, but of course it's not an accident, right? I was in Chile many years ago, and one of my friends, she owns a Pilates studio, and I was doing Pilates with her. And she lent me this book about the pineal gland.
Oh.
And I have to confess that I didn't read it for more than a year probably. And then I had to move to Australia at that time. And I was so ashamed to return the book without reading it that I read it in 2 days.
It happens to all of us.
Yes, before giving it back.
Yeah.
So, and that book was talking about the pineal gland. So I was like, oh, this is really interesting, and I want to learn more. But at that time, I just was moving from Chile to Australia, so I didn't have much time. But when I settled down in Melbourne, I was in Melbourne before, I started doing all this research because I was really interested in my reading, And what I did is that I collected information from different parts. So I read about the pineal gland being this third eye in India. I read about losa rampa, and I read about many methods and things to activate the pineal gland. And then I arrived to Fresia Castro, the creator of the Cyclopea method. And I said, oh my God, she's Chilean. And so it's not a coincidence.
So you didn't know about her before?
I didn't know about her before because I was reading another lady's book. I don't remember the name now, but it wasn't her. And then I arrived to her just researching on internet, and I said, okay, this is really interesting. And I found out that actually she was a pioneer in the world in activating the pineal gland. And she developed this method that unites science and spirit. And I said, this is really interesting for me because I don't want anything that is just so ethereal that it doesn't have any base. It was important for me that has that the method has a scientific base. Like a backup. And that's why I started looking, and finally one day I was able to go back to Chile for holidays, and I said, okay, this is my opportunity to attend a seminar.
Awesome.
And I did, and it changed my life.
Wow.
It changed my life because at that seminar I had this realization, I want to teach this. I want to do this.
So that moment was life-changing.
It was life-changing. It's like my story, my personal story changed at that moment.
And what did it make it change? What was so special about this?
Because for the first time, after all my research, I found something that unites both sides. We could say maybe the material side of things and the spiritual side of things. And I felt connected. connected to something. I felt connected to what we call within the method the source.
Yeah.
And that connection was so strong and so profound that I just couldn't function without being connected really. So that was my moment. I said, "Dude, this is it. You know,
Awesome.
I want to teach this, and I
Yeah.
want to do it in English. I am the only one doing this in English in the world, actually.
Oh, in the world.
In the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes,
So so that's really what happened.
So
You
that
know,
has-
it's like
yeah.
there's no words to describe that moment
Yeah.
because it was so profound. Yeah.
Yes. You found that calling.
I
right?
found that calling. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's a calling.
Yes.
Really. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, and
You
you've
had the right
dedicated.
word.
Yeah. And you've dedicated your life now to spreading this method.
Yes, that's what I have been doing. It has been quite a journey, and it has been good. I think it has been good. Yeah.
Fantastic. How I just love to hear this kind of stories because when you find that calling and you say yes to the calling, then it might not be completely easy all the time, right? You're gonna have challenges, but it's so fulfilling,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's really fulfilling, and you just keep going. Whatever happens, you just keep going. When you find something that is going to really give meaning to your life, purpose to your life, you just keep going.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
For sure. Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that. Vero.
Thank you for
Yes.
asking.
So I have to share with all of the listeners that I met Veronica around 2 years ago, and we we bumped into each other literally.
Yes, that's
Like,
right.
We didn't know anything about each other, and then I ended up coming to one of her workshops, and I personally found the method being really deepening. It kind of like deepened my connection to the source. So, as many of you know, I'm an energy healer and a health coach, and I have always been very connected, let's say. But through this method, I experienced a different type of connection to the source and to everything. So, I would like us to explore a little bit about that.
Yeah, look, it's really interesting this because this method can be incorporated in anything you do. It doesn't mean that you are going to incorporate the method into your healing practice. If you incorporate the method in yourself.
Yes. Actually,
And
that's what I like the most.
exactly.
Yes.
So in yourself, and when you do that and you are connected to the source, and before, for example, seeing a patient, you connect to the source and you co-create an outcome for that session, you become a powerful healer. You become someone that is co-creating together with that source, and you are using that to help others for your work.
Of
You know,
course,
for
yeah.
your work, for yourself. So it's, you incorporate that in yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of this, that can be incorporated in any field. We have
Exactly,
people, we have now, for example, doctors, psychiatrists that are instructors of the method because they realize that they can incorporate that in their daily practice with themselves.
Yeah.
And that's the idea, because this is a method of self-mastery.
Yeah.
And that's why you can incorporate everything in anything you do.
Yeah. And so let's chat a little bit about what the method is, because that's what the listeners, I guess, would like to know about.
Yeah. yeah.
And also, kind of like, why does it have to do with the pineal gland or the pineal gland?
Okay. Well, I say the pineal gland because it's easier for me, closer to Spanish.
Yes, yeah, it's easy
But,
for me too.
yeah, but anyway, the pineal gland is a very tiny gland that we have in the middle of our brain, and it has a lot of important functions. And one of the functions is that produces melatonin, and melatonin regulates our circadian rhythm, our sleeping cycle.
Wow.
Also, melatonin is a free radical scavenger. So these free radicals are in charge of the oxidation of our body. So when melatonin when the pineal gland is activated and melatonin is produced, melatonin, what happens is that it goes around your body
And
eating all these free radicals.
Yeah.
So you actually end up feeling younger, looking younger, and that's really, really good. So
and who
what
doesn't
that's-
want that?
Yeah,
Right?
oh, everyone. So, and without any medication, without
Yes, wow.
plastic surgery. But
Natural.
natural. So that's some of the benefits. But for me, the most important benefit of this is that the pineal gland, when it's activated, is the open door to attune to higher realms of consciousness, and is the open door to attune to high frequency feelings.
Yes. What does that mean?
So it means that we live in this world,
Yeah.
in frequencies, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Matter frequencies are always low.
So they're denser.
They're
Yes.
denser.
Slower in vibration.
Yeah, a lot of density there.
Yeah.
But when we are able to connect with higher realms of consciousness, what we are doing is that we are connecting to high frequency. So it's like we break a barrier. We break a barrier, and we are able to connect straight with the source or spirit. And we do that internally.
Okay.
And why internally? Because we do, within this method, we don't use anything external but music. And when you learn the method, you don't need even music to just learn the steps. And that's really powerful, because you have a straight connection with the source, and then you co-create together with that source your everyday life, your everyday results, and that's experience. Ooh, we have a friend.
Is that a magpie?
I think it's a magpie. We have many. I don't know. We have kookaburras around sometimes, so it's really
Yes,
nice.
we are in Australia, just in case you were
Yeah,
wondering.
Australia. So lots of wildlife and
Yeah.
nature here.
Company.
Yeah, I love that. Anyway.
Yes, me too.
So that's special for me, and the pineal gland has been known as the third eye, is known as the power of God, is known as the Horus eye. So it has been present from the beginning, since humanity fell into this frequency field, right? And we have this gland in ourselves, and we don't use it.
And that's the thing, right? That like many people perhaps know about the circadian rhythms, perhaps, or melatonin, but when it comes to that other aspect, the aspect of helping us elevate our frequency and connecting to source, then that's where we fall short.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know, and what this method does is that it teaches you a practical way to do that, to elevate your frequency in just 1, 2, 3 steps, and it's something that you can use for anything, even for cooking.
Yeah, and so talking about that, actually, how it's irrelevant, how that method and the pineal gland and activating it is relevant in a society, or in a time actually in which everybody is super busy, everybody's stressed out.
This method, as Fresia Castro, the creator of the method, I talk about here in a moment, but the creator of the method, she developed this methodology and this tool to be used in everyday life, and it doesn't take much to practice it. You can be driving and practicing the method. You can be talking to someone and being connected to the source using the method exercises. So that's the beauty of this method, that can be incorporated in anything you do in just 1, 2, 3, and then when you have a lot of practice, in just 1.
Wow.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and it's made to be used in everyday life, in busy life, and in the city.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and actually, I was listening to Fresia's podcast a few weeks ago, and she was talking about the method being to be used in the city. She said, if you want to go out, that's beautiful, that's wonderful, but not all of us have that opportunity. So that's why this method comes into place. Yeah.
Yes, and what are some of those benefits? Kind of like, what can someone experience when they have activated their pineal gland internally through this method?
Apart from sleeping better, because it regulates circadian rhythms, and apart from rejuvenating and having better health, you actually start experiencing, increased levels of happiness, I could say. I mean, the levels of happiness are higher. You start feeling at peace. You have this inner peace within yourself. And it's so difficult to describe this inner peace because you have this way to addressing your everyday life and your problems that we all have. We all encounter these in a different way, and that's through inner peace. And that's wonderful.
Yes,
that's wonderful.
I love that, because that's what we are all really striving for, what we are all really looking for.
Exactly. And another thing is that it improves memory and concentration.
Who doesn't need that?
So all that combined releases you from stress, releases you from pain, releases you from being sad. It doesn't mean that you're not going to feel that, but you're going to address those feelings in a different way, from a high frequency field.
So from a different perspective.
From a different perspective, exactly. And I want to talk about Fresia a little bit.
Yes, let's talk about Fresia.
Yeah, because look, Fresia Castro is a Latin spiritual leader or guru, we could say in a good way, right? She's a science journalist. She's a master in arts, and she has many titles. She has a degree in psychology and many other degrees in pre-columbial cultures and all that. She's a writer, she's a painter, she plays piano, so she's very accomplished. Multiple talents. But what she did is that she created this method because she was practicing a spiritual instruction that she received in France.
Okay.
And she was living in France for a few years, and she was practicing this spiritual instruction. And then she traveled all the way to South America and went to live in the desert for more than 10 years.
Wow. In Chile?
In Chile, in the Atacama Desert, at 3,200 meters high.
You need good lungs there.
Yeah, and she developed the internal activation of the pineal gland, or the Cyclopea method, as a product of this practice, a spiritual practice that she was living. She said, I want to share this. Yeah. And also what she did is that she was very immersed in the local life there with the indigenous or aboriginal people of the area. And so what she did with the method is that she incorporated 3 big keys that form the method.
Okay, yeah.
The first one is scientific knowledge.
Fantastic, that background.
Yeah,
to back it up. Awesome.
Exactly. And the second one is that she incorporated all the big keys present in the spiritual movements of the world. And then she incorporated all the wisdom found in the indigenous cultures or aboriginal cultures of the world. And those 3 elements form the method.
Yeah, makes it very whole, very complete.
Very whole.
Yeah.
She actually, Fresia talks about the sphere of the method.
Yeah.
And it's because of that, right? And she created this more than 30 years ago. And it has been around the world in Spanish for all those years. And now it's for the first time available in English.
Thanks to you.
Yeah, and a friend that helped me in Chile also.
Of course,
And
yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I said I'm living in Australia, so I have to do
Of
it.
course.
I have to do it in English.
This is so exciting,
Yeah.
Vero, because there are many people who can benefit from receiving this information, and for the listeners actually to just learn a little bit more about a different way of accessing those higher
Yeah.
frequencies and of living a life that is more in that frequency, you know, a life that is not determined or imprisoned in the rules of this world or of this
Exactly,
level. Yeah.
because we are creators. And when we connect to higher realms of consciousness, we become co-creators. And then we influence not only ourselves, but the world. So this is a
Yeah.
radiant method. So the world around us. And we help this world to become a better place.
Yes, yes.
And that's the purpose of the method. This method is at the service of humanity. And it's powerful. It's
Yeah.
really powerful. There's no words to describe this. This is by experience. You live this method by experience. We can bring all the theory here, but if you don't experience, you don't incorporate the method or any method that
Yeah,
you practice
totally.
into your life, there's nothing happens.
That's true. Yes,
Right?
we have to take action.
Yeah.
Yes, bring it into our day to day.
Exactly.
Yes, but I have to say, since I've been practicing the method, I have definitely experienced how it's not only for me, and it's not only for my well-being, but for the ones who are around me, and even for the ones that I don't even know, because it's that ripple effect, right? It creates that
Exactly.
ripple effect. Yes.
It creates a ripple effect, and it's very powerful. And it's really funny because when you become a pinealist, we call pinealists the people that activate the pineal gland through the method. You can experiment with that. You can experiment with that, and then you connect yourself and you start radiating that love, that
Yeah.
universal love,
Yeah.
and you see the reactions of the people
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
around you
Yeah.
or places, and it's
I love that.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And then you realize, okay, it's not only for me.
Yes. Totally.
And
yeah.
because we live in a very very individualistic society, right? That everything is for me, and if I'm okay, it's okay, and the rest doesn't matter. No, you know, when you are happy, when you are radiating high frequency feelings, you affect the world
Totally.
around you. But if you are radiating bad or low, not bad, because low frequency feelings,
Yes. What could be a low frequency feeling? Just as an example.
anger,
Anger. Okay.
yeah, anger, or it could be extreme sadness. Doesn't fear.
Yeah.
That being sad is not bad. Being angry is not bad.
Yes.
Having fears is not bad.
Let's clarify that.
But it's better for you to be in high frequency feelings, and there are ways to elevate your frequency and get out of those feelings that are low frequency. Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced practicing the exercises, well, the main exercise, in a moment or in a place in which it feels like the energy is a little bit dense, or people are angry or in a mood that perhaps is not very welcoming, and then experiencing the change in the mood of people, and experiencing the change in the energy, and how it feels, the place, and how it feels. Yeah.
Exactly. It's very powerful, and it's a method that, as I said, you can incorporate in your daily life, and when you do that, you become a radiant being.
I love that word, radiant. So you are radiating this.
Radiating.
Yes.
It's not expanding, it's radiating, really, the word. So we have our own language within the method. and that has been a little bit of a struggle to translate into
course, yeah.
English, but I think we got the soul of the words
Yes,
that we want to
fantastic.
say.
I
Yeah.
love that, because words are powerful. So
Yeah, they're
it's
very
important to use them, to use the right words.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Vero, I would love if you could share with the audience, with the listeners, a little bit about kind of like how can they, basically, what's the next step? They say, okay, I think I want to do this. What do they need to do now? What's next?
Okay. I deliver this through seminars. I will be in Europe late September. I will go to Lausanne, Switzerland. I will be there on the 28th of September, and then I will be in London on the 5th of October, and I will be in Munich on the 12th of October. And here in Sydney, I will deliver the last seminar of the year on the 17th of November.
That's in English.
In English.
Yeah.
All of them are in English. And in Spanish, I do only one or twice a year. And I have one coming, but it's full already. So,
Yes, sold out.
Sold out, yeah. So that's the way. You can visit my website, cyclopea.com, cyclopeamethod.com. And you have all the dates there, and I'm always open to deliver seminars where people organize them for me, and that's the way to do it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So also I would love if we could share with the audience, because perhaps people cannot attend a workshop or something, but it would be nice if they could learn something today. And I know that there is an exercise that you could share with us today. So I was wondering if, obviously for the listeners, for the ones who are watching the video, then you can see the instructions, but for the ones who are listening, we might need to do an extra effort.
We'll do a short exercise that you can use. This is one of the multiple exercises of the method. We have a lot of exercises that you can incorporate into your life. But this one is something that we can share before activating the pineal gland.
Fantastic.
Yeah?
And this exercise will help them raise the frequency, elevate the frequency.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So
So if you're feeling sad or in a bad mood today, you can use that.
Before we do this, I do want to clarify, because sometimes people say, oh, but it's necessary to feel to be able to get past the emotion. So this is not about avoiding anything. This is just about being conscious of elevating your frequency.
No, you have to acknowledge your feelings, your
Mm-hmm.
emotions. You have to acknowledge them. Yeah, definitely. But through my experience, I have learned that it's not good to dwell on them.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yes.
So if you are feeling this anger, for example, to dwell on that is not good for you, for your body, for yourself.
That's detrimental, definitely. Yeah.
So you have to acknowledge the emotions and feelings, but then you have to act on them.
Right? And take action, yes.
And take action,
Of course, I like that. Thank you.
Action. Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to close our eyes. And we're going to start being aware of our body, and we're going to pay attention to our feet, our legs, our hips, trunk. Pay attention to your arms, your hands. Focus your attention on your neck, on your head now, and feel that. And now you're going to feel like a bright light, very bright light in the middle of your brain. And then you are going to feel that you have a sun just above you. It's like your personal sun. and you're going to feel that from that sun a ray comes down and connects with the rays of your light inside your brain. And now you're going to inhale that ray of light, and this ray of light is going to sit in your heart center, in this area here, and you're going to exhale that. So you inhale with your attention in your sun, and then you're going to exhale. You inhale and you exhale that ray of light. You inhale and you exhale. And when you're ready, you can come back from this experience.
Thank you, Vero. That was so beautiful.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you like it. So you can use this exercise all the time you want.
Yeah.
As I said, it's one of the multiple exercises of the Cyclopea method. It's not the activation of the pineal gland, though. The pineal gland requires a one-day seminar to activate it. Requires it's a longer process. It's a different process.
But it's lovely that all our listeners now have a tool that they can start working with. And start to elevating
the frequencies and radiating that.
Yes, and sharing it with the world.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Good.
So, Verito, before we finish, I need to ask you, because this is a Love Approach Project podcast.
Yeah.
How do you approach your life with love?
How do I approach my life with love? Through the method. Because every time you are connected to the source, you are connected to love. Because love is the power, or we could say the glue that keeps the universe together. And that's my definition of love. So it's not the love of attachments, or it's not that. It's the love of the one, the whole. Yeah.
Awesome. Yes.
So I do that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, because I know for sure that those words will touch people, and they will perhaps start seeing love in a different way, the one that comes directly from the source.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yes.
Okay.
Lovely. Well, Vero, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a great chat, and I wish we had more time to keep chatting more and more.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you everyone for listening.
Yes.
And watching.
And so people can find you at cyclopeamethod.com.
Cyclopeamethod.com, or they can find me Cyclopea Method Global on Facebook, or Cyclopea Method Instagram.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And I know you're posting lots of videos with information.
Exactly.
And tips.
There's a lot of videos and lives that I do where I talk about the method, about the pineal gland, and I do that.
Great.
Trying to do that.
Yeah. It's good for all of us.
Yes.
Well, thank you once again, Vero, and
Okay,
thank you. My pleasure. And thank you to all the listeners for joining us today. We'll see you next time. Bye.